What's up? It's Tuesday night. It must be another C3 podcast. I am your host, the professor, aka Tony Dunn, here with my brother from another mother, that freaking Puerto Rican, Joe Riolano. What's up?
What up, Panther Nation? It's a beautiful night here in the low country of South Carolina. And yes, it is Tuesday. Yes, it is another C3 podcast bringing it to you live in full effect. And Tony, I have a very big announcement I want to make tonight.
Okay.
Um, I
Let's
am
have, let's have it.
I am officially throwing my hat into the ring as the next Carolina Panthers offensive coordinator.
All right. Well, we got one vote himself. He's voting for himself to become the next offensive coordinator. That would be a big step up for us or for you, right?
It would
A
be
little bit a little
from
bigger than the C3 podcast.
from nobody to calling the plays for the Panthers. But
From armchair coordinator to booth coordinator.
that's right, and I know I could do a better job than what we have going on there. But that's for a later segment of the show. Right now, we're gonna do some plugs. I
Yeah.
want you plug the website.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, you can always check out all the hottest fan takes for the Carolina Panthers at carolinacatchronicles.com. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Carolina Cat Chronicles. Follow us on Twitter at cat_chronicles. But most importantly, what we want you to do is get involved in the podcast. What you can do is tweet us using the hashtag C3 or at Cat Chronicles. We'll feature it along with, obviously, C3 is trending in Korea right now, so that's kind of cool. So blow them up. Let's blow up Korea tonight, folks. Hit the hashtag C3. We'll feature your tweets. We'll talk Panthers. And I want to say, Joey, congratulations on the fan club. Looked like it was kicking.
It was a couple of weeks ago. This past week, we ran into some technical difficulties, but we had a good turnout. We had a couple of new people, and we had our first official membership into the fan club. So we're building. We're starting to gain a little bit of momentum, and I want to tell all of you, Panther Nation, if you don't live in Charleston but you know Panther fans in the Charleston area, please tell them about it. We're located at Southside 17 at Tanger Outlets. It is a very cool bar. They got TVs everywhere. And as our group continues to grow, we will get special discounts and special drinks and various food items.
Oh, excellent. It's nice to hear that the fans are turning out, like the Koreans in hashtag C3. That must be, it's fun. At least you get to share in the misery together. Another week goes by, Joey. Another loss for the Carolina Panthers. I think this one hurt you more than it hurt me. I think the Green Bay one was the one that hurt me the most. So just before we jump into that game, I want to talk a couple of things in the news. Some roster moves go down today. Charles Godfrey, cut by the Carolina Panthers last week, is now a Atlanta Falcon. Went to the Rivals. They're going to play him at safety, Joey. Darren Reeves waived today. Robert Lester activated to probably fill in Godfrey's role, and also Deku. Deku is hurt with a hamstring, and Blackburn has been moved to IR. So, what do you think about? Oh, also, I mean, what do you think about these moves, Joey? Are you upset to see Godfrey in a Falcons jersey?
Not so much, to tell you the truth. I guess the downside is, he's familiar with their scheme, and I'm sure they're going to be interrogating him for all the information he can give up. So there's that. That's not the end of the world, though. He just was playing out of position. I liked Godfrey as a safety, personally. I thought he did an okay job. There were some, I think he made more good plays than he did bad. But as a nickel corner, he was playing out of position. As far as the Lester signing, I'm so happy because I think he really does a good job. He's young. He's still young. And he's developing, but he's shown some flashes of brilliance here and there. So I think that's a good move. Hopefully, reduce the number of plays for
Roman Harper.
yes, Grandma Harper. Hopefully, yeah, take some plays away from him. And then this offensive tackle, I'm curious. I think his name is Remmers.
Mike
Yeah,
Remmers.
Remmers. The reason
Be
I'm
excited.
curious
Yep.
is he was on the Rams practice squad, okay? And Jake Long, their offensive tackle, I think just tore his ACL. So if they were willing, not willing to call him up, but leave him on the practice squad, it makes me wonder how good he can actually be. But we'll see. We'll give him a
I don't
shot.
think I don't think there's much to be excited about there. I've never heard of the guy. He's from Oregon State,
Right.
and he was, I guess, signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2012. Practice squad guy all year long. Then he was a Denver Bronco for a little while, a Ram, a Charger, but he's only played in 2 preseason games. So he's been on all those teams and all those practice squads, and he's only played 2 preseason games. So doesn't seem much to be happy about. And speaking of that, just look at this, Joey. I'm going to put up right now the injury report from this week, and this thing is long and intense, right? But I think what we need to look at today is for the did not practice on Tuesday, Byron Bell, elbow, Ben A, Sticky Wicky, Corey Brown, still out with a concussion, so Philly Brown is still out. Thomas Deku did not practice hamstring. Silatolu, can't ever say it.
Close enough.
Yeah, calf injury. He didn't practice. Trey Turner knee. Fozzie Whitaker. So looking at this, Joey, it doesn't really seem good. Not only, and this is something we've spent a lot of time on throughout the season, and that is when you have mediocre to bad players as starters, what happens when those guys get hurt? And I guess you could say that maybe the 2 Snow White Canadians, Norman, is it Norman? Not Norman. Who's the one dude that plays guard? There's Foku, and then there's the other Maxwell. Is that right?
Was it Folkerts or something like that?
Foku is the one that everybody was excited about there, but there's one other guy that has been playing rather well. He's got like a real mean streak to him, it seems like. So he stepped in there and seemed to play pretty well, better than old Velasco did or Chris Scott. So Velasco, not very good. So, we got a lot of problems with this team when we're healthy. And now we're not healthy, and we haven't been healthy. So this is going to be a tough week. There's a lot of stuff going on. Another thing in the news, Joey, I wanted to get your kind of idea about this. Cooks versus Benjamin is a hot topic since the 2 rookies are having good seasons, especially since Cook blew it up against the Green Bay Packers. A lot of this is what ESPN, David Newton, he's the Panther beat writer for ESPN blog. He said this: 35 wide receivers had a faster 40-yard dash than Kelvin Benjamin's 4.61 seconds at the NFL's Combine. But the former Florida State standout, wasn't surprised. He said he purposely ran slowly because I wanted to be, quote, because I wanted to play for the Carolina Panthers. And he also noted that he's been clocked at 4.41 seconds, which would have been the 5th fastest combine time. What do you think? What do you make of this, Joey, of Benjamin throwing the combine come to the Carolina Panthers?
Well, we will never know for sure. But if that's what he's saying, that's great that he wanted to come here, and it's fantastic that it worked out that he was drafted here. I just don't know. I mean, even 4.61 in the 40-yard dash is a pretty quick time. So if that's what he's saying, I'm going to believe him. It worked out for his benefit because he lasted long enough to get to Carolina, and it's worked out well for us. As far as the comparisons between Cooks and Benjamin, I have to say it's like comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah, there's no real helpful comparison here.
But both are fruits, but that's about the extent of it. They're both wide receivers, but they're totally different types of wide receivers.
Yeah. Kelvin Benjamin has had a great season. He struggled the last couple of weeks. It's that simple. He has not played well. He didn't play well against Green Bay.
Neither
And
did the
I
team.
would go, no, the team played horribly. So, but he also seemed to have a couple of problems against Seattle. And he does what he does, and that is he makes ridiculously awesome catches and seems to lack a little focus at times and have some trouble with the easier balls. So, you got to be glad. I think Kelvin Benjamin fits this team better. He fits with Cam Newton better than Brandon Cooks potentially would have. I don't know if Brandon Cooks would have been able to make as large of an impact in his rookie season at Carolina as Benjamin has, just because of what's around him
Right.
and what would be needed. The other thing, though, is I call bullshit on this, right? and I'm going to go ahead and say this. It looks like Ken Dye does as well, because Ken Dye just posted a question on YouTube. When do NFL athletes ever fib about their speed? And I'm sorry, if you're in the NFL draft, your idea is to get the highest stock, to get the biggest payday, and to get the most acclaim. If it was to play for a certain team, then nobody would want to be number one pick, because those teams suck. So I don't buy this. There's no way that he could have known. From what Gettleman said in the past, is we were looking at Marquise Lee just as closely, and we just made the choice over Benjamin over him because of size. But thank God for that. Susan just tweeted in and said that had to have been taken out of context, or he was joking around. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I call bullshit on this. So let's move on, Joey. Let's get into the game, the Seahawks game. I felt some steaming. I felt like you were mad, dude. And I don't know if I've seen that vitriol from you in a while when it comes. What happened in this game, Joey, that pissed you off so much?
It was a combination of things, and I'll be honest and say that there was some alcohol running through my veins at the time, so there was a little added, I guess, fuel on the fire. But I think it was the combination of play calling, the missed opportunities, the ineffective offensive line at some points. It was just a whole bunch of things. I mean, so many things, Tony, went our way in this game. We put pressure on Wilson. We ran the ball fairly effectively. We got a couple turnovers. That turnover in the end zone was huge. The Josh Allen interception, it was huge. He could have run it back for a touchdown, too, if he would have just cut outside instead of trying to run straight down the field.
Right.
So that and the coaching, man. I don't know if we're ready to get into the coaching yet, but
no, we're not ready to get into that. But that was the part of it, Joe. That, but you know what is that? It felt like this. Is that the Panthers? You wrote to me this. You said that they seemed like they were more in control of this game than the Seahawks were. So we seem to have. I'm going to go ahead and say this: is we straight lost that game.
Right.
The Seahawks didn't lose that game. We beat ourselves entirely in that game. And I'm going to put it on Cam Newton this time. And I never find anything wrong with Cam Newton. I'm always defending him. So for me to say that those two turnovers that he had were killer.
Mm-hmm. It was so costly.
They were, and what we saw is another thing, and this is something that Cam Newton has always had a problem with, and now it seems like the entire Carolina Panthers have a problem with, and that is trying too hard.
Right.
Is that we're just overdoing everything. And sometimes I think, and this is where Cam does not play well, Joe. He does not play well when he feels like he needs to win it. He
Right.
just needs to always be smiling and laughing and happy and playing ball in the backyard. And when
Right.
he plays like that, he is straight. He's awesome. But when he thinks he's got to do all this, when he thinks he's got to, I guess, carry the team, makes mistakes. And we don't have a team around him where we can make any mistakes.
Right. No, it's true. He tries to put the team on his back, and he says, we're this close. I'm going to carry us the rest of the way. And it's one thing if he has an offensive line that's blocking well enough for him to do that, or we have a defense that's staunch enough to where if there is an turnover, they can prevent any points for the other team off of it. Last year, we had that kind of a defense. This year, not so much. Tony, I was so sick of what I saw from Cam after the game, and I'm sure this was definitely the alcohol talking. I said to you, I wasn't sure if Cam Newton was the answer at quarterback, and I was hot. I was furious about that.
I chose, by the way, to not respond to you on that.
Well, I'm glad you didn't. After going back and sort of replaying things in my head and knowing and thinking of all the things he's done, he is definitely our quarterback. I guess it's part of the maturation process. He's matured some, but he's definitely not there yet.
Ken just wrote in. He said that falling down one where he flipped the ball, where he tried to forward flick it like he was in college. That was a college play.
Yes, that was so boneheaded.
And he was trying too hard. And what this is, Joe, tell me, Joey, why let the alcohol reinvigorate your blood, and tell me what made you think that at that moment. Was it purely emotion saying that?
Well, it was
prompted you.
It was the fact that he had made stupid plays. These are plays that a rookie makes, not a 3 or 4 year veteran in the league. Okay, that handoff. He shouldn't have rode him that long. He should have either given it to him or taken it from him. He shouldn't have had it in the pocket. Yeah, he held it way too long. And then the throw. I mean, that's what really fired me up. That was so asinine to make that kind of a throw. Like you said, it is college, and there may be a time where he's able to get away with that, but not against the Seahawks. Maybe you can do that against the Jaguars, but you're not going to do that against the Seahawks. And those two things, plus how the rest of the team, how the defense had played so well, they've given such great effort. They left it all on the field, and the offense came up short by doing stupid things like that, by not scoring but 6 points when they had 3 shots down in the red zone. That sort of stuff had made me mad.
Yeah, I feel like we always bounce back and forth with Cam Newton. Is that he looks so good at sometimes, and then when he looks bad, then we want to say it's the offensive line. And then this was boneheaded. This was boneheaded mistake day, and it wasn't that they were so much. Think about this: is that an NFL team the quarterback should essentially be able to have one interception in a game and them still get away with a win or something like that. I think that these were very timely, poor, just some crappy ones. That, to me, it was the fumble, the read option that drove me absolutely insane. I know the other one. The other one was just so stupid. I just laughed. Like, you could see he was just wanting to make something happen. He's getting frustrated. But the read option was just totally them trying to be cooler than they needed to be. I think that we're going to talk more about that with the coaching and some things. And this is what Ken has to also. He's talking about. He said, "Look, it doesn't matter who's at quarterback. That offensive line, those tackles so terrible. He says he's hated these guys since before the draft. And I'm going to show you a little something, Joey, that Cam Newton has to deal with. And this right here, pay attention to the right guard in this clip. One more time. Here it goes. I'm going to play it one more time for everybody in case they can't see it. The right guard, Velasco, just got annihilated. He got totally it was insane. I mean, it was just ridiculous. You know, I mean, you can't do anything with that. So I think this is what it comes down to is Cam always, and I heard, I believe it was Michael Irvin. No, it was Masim Muhammad talking about this on the whatever the drive is now or whatever in the afternoon with the Kroger guy, right? And Muhammad said that when a quarterback stops trusting his offensive line, he stops looking downfield. And he's always kind of looking down rather than like
looking at receivers. Yeah, he's looking at the line to see where they're at, who's coming through versus who's wide open down the field.
And when you see this, when you get this, it's like a mental thing. It's kind of like that's why they have that relationship with their offensive line. That's why they take them out to dinner. That's why they buy them Rolexes at the end of the year and things like this. Because Cam Newton should not be – he should have faith in them. And it's clear he does it. And it's okay.
It's right. It's right for him not to.
Right. So what would you say was the biggest area of struggle in this game, Joey, for the Carolina Panthers?
It's obvious to me, red zone efficiency.
Yeah, I mean that is we won that game. We won that game, Joey, had we scored a touchdown. Yeah. What I felt like was this. I felt like it was a combination of the two Saints games from last year. If you remember the Saints game in New Orleans, we owned the field for the first quarter. Driving down the field, what do? We settle for 2 field goals, and we let them come back and hang around and stick in the game. Same thing, just settling for field goals. The game, while you're dominating it on the stat sheet, while you're dominating it
on the field,
time of possession, you don't come away with enough that translates there. You know, you just don't get enough bang for your buck there. So you got to, when you have a team that you roll with that ground and pound, control the clock, you're not going to get a lot of opportunities to score. How many times are you going to be in the red zone? So when you are there, you have to really capitalize because there's more.
I'll tell you, after the second field goal, I was extremely deflated, and I thought, you know, this team, this Seahawks team is so good that we're not going to win with 2 opportunities in the red zone and only coming away with 6 points. And lo and behold, it happened just like I was fearful that it would.
Yeah. Okay, we've got 1 minute until I'm supposed to bring in Greg Barber. I want to play this clip for you real quick. We're going to move to the Saints, but I want to ask you, because when Greg gets in, I'm going to give you your moment for the coaching. But here's what I want to ask about this in this coaching game, Joey, or this game that you're upset with. What do you think that our mindset going into Thursday is? And listen to this clip right here.
The schedule, how would you describe psyche here right now?
I think the psyche's good. I think there's a lot of disappointment right now, just from what I've kind of felt walking through the locker room and the weight room. I think the guys are disappointed in themselves. I think we realize we missed some opportunities. You know, I mean, you like to feel you can win them all, but obviously we haven't. So I think there's some disappointment more so than there's anything else. Just about missing opportunities.
All right, Joe, go ahead and comment on that and the coaching staff. I'm going to go ahead and bring in our Saints writer. Tell us, what do we need to know about the psyche going into this game? How does that make you feel about Ron Rivera, too, that answer?
I think that if you answer very honestly, the team is in a good – they have a good psyche, but they are disappointed knowing how they've played the last 4 or 5 games. They've been awful. They didn't deserve to tie the one that we've tied. We should have an extra loss on there. And as far as the coaches go, one play stands out to me so significantly in this game is the 3rd and goal when we were down there and we ran Jonathan Stewart right up the middle with a stacked Seahawks defense. Now, by doing so, we took a 7-yard loss, and that took us out of any possibility of going forward on 4th down. If you'd have run off tackle or a play-action pass, then, it's an incomplete pass. He's tackled at the line of scrimmage. We have a chance to go for it again. We still have one more opportunity. With a 7-yard loss, you can't go for it from the 8 or 9-yard line. You can't. You got to kick a field goal. And that just summed everything up for me. We moved the ball 20-yard line to 20-yard line. We were able to run the ball, in the open space. And as the field shrinks, you got to know they're going to, load up on the goal line. Why you got to call a run up the middle?
Well, this goes to another question. One of our commenters from YouTube, Nurse, I think he might have something to do with Cat Scratch Reader, by the way. Panthers were dreadful running the ball under center, though. Read option is the best way to run the ball, gives the offense a numbers advantage. And this speaks to your point, too, is that this might be the real problem with Mike Shula. And he doesn't know, he has yet to figure out how to best use his weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's just a misunderstanding here when it comes to what does an offensive coordinator do? Does he catch the ball? No. Does he design plays that are going to, gadget you out of control and stuff like this? Probably not. What he's got to do is figure out what he's got with the team and cater to their best assets. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He has to say this: we got a crappy offensive line, so we're going to have to figure out ways to compensate for that. What we haven't seen is we haven't seen 2 tight end sets very much. I don't know if that's because, running 2 tight ends puts more pressure on the offensive line, or Mike Shula doesn't know how to do it really that well. The other thing is that Ken saying this is why don't you try the fade to Kelvin Benjamin?
That's what you brought him in for.
Yes, exactly. Why do you not try that? Maybe because he did drop that pass, but running it up the middle is probably the worst thing you can do. The Panthers have not had great success even last year. I don't feel like that was what got us in the end zone. Bootleg, where do we see? Bootleg to Olsen? No. Another thing, what did the Redskins do last night to the Cowboys? The Redskins got a crappy offensive line. They spread them out and then ran the ball up the middle. So to get some space for these guys. So is the answer then, Joe, to fire Mike Shula?
Yes.
When?
Now.
In the middle.
And I say now because we have Ramsdale on the team, and he could step right into the offensive coordinator position and immediately turn things around. I'm not going to say he's going to be all-world and the savior, but I'm saying we're going to see better offensive performance, especially in the red zone, under his tutelage and leadership. Mike Davis has struggled wherever he's been. When he's with the Panthers and when he was with the Bucs, their offense was never ranked higher than 19th. He's never had an offense ranked higher than 19th. When he was the head coach at Alabama, I want to say their record was 21 and 23 or something to that effect, where they just were completely ineffective in most games. And that's a problem. I was hoping that he would come in and be better than he's been, man. He hasn't. He's not been good. You said it. You have to cater the offense to the strengths of the offensive unit. He's not. Why did we only have 2 throws to Greg Olsen? I think he caught one and he was targeted once. Why? Why didn't we have...
Ron Rivera said in the press conference, Joey, that the problem with that is that they were they were compensating and countering. It wasn't just the play calling all the time, but that Greg Olson, what it wasn't there. Now I don't know how to see that. Now we got T Money jumped in on Twitter. He said it's hard to use two tight ends when you get a pass. When the one pass you throw to Dixon, he fumbled the ball.
True.
He did fumble it out of bounds, though. He fumbled it out of bounds, so it doesn't count. We maintain possession, but I think that's a good question. I don't know, and I don't know. I know that one thing for sure is that Mel Mayock does not like this idea of firing Mike Shula in the middle of the season. I don't know if it's a good idea. I do know one thing is that we're not getting the job done, and this is 2 years of really poor play calling.
Exactly. This isn't the first time this has happened. We've seen this time and time again. It's not all of a sudden. So, look, if we were to get rid of Shula and bring in Ramsdale, he's not going to do any worse than Shula's done. So why not give him a shot? Okay, he's got way more years of experience, and more than that, he's gotten way more years of success.
Yes, all right. Now we got a break. Let's welcome our guest, Greg Barber.
Greg Barber.
Can you hear us?
Happy birthday to you, sir.
How you doing?
It's your birthday.
Thank you.
Yes, it's his birthday. He turned 21.
Well, yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
No, it was actually yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday, but yeah, still. Hey, thank you.
You're
welcome.
You're very welcome.
All right, well, let's jump in and say this. Congratulations, Greg. I know you guys had a big win. I hate you and your team. We'll go ahead and get that out of the way before Team Money comes in. And Greg, say hello to the audience. Tell them why we brought you on tonight.
Hello, audience. As you can see, I'm representing the black and gold. I've been a black and gold since I was a baby, and I'm going to the grave. But also, I do write for the Saints, and as far as for a publication. But anyway, we're ready to talk some football.
Excellent. Well, we're glad to have you on the show. We got a big matchup, and this is a big-time game for the Carolina Panthers. It's a big-time game for the New Orleans Saints. And I'm going to ask Joey this because I wanted to squeeze it in before we moved on to the Saints game, but I think it's a good segue. And I don't know if you got a chance to look at the Carolina Panthers game, Greg, but we lost that game. And when I say we lost it,
yes,
we did not. They didn't beat us. We beat ourselves in many ways. So we lost that game. And I want to know this, Joey. What would be different going into Thursday night had Kelvin Benjamin caught that touchdown? Had we had just gotten in there? Say that score was flipped. It was 13-9, and the Carolina Panthers were going in Thursday night. We're hosting Thursday night, coming to win. Same thing, same outcome for the Saints. Would the circumstances be any different?
I don't think the circumstances would be different because we're still playing for a division game. But I think the mood and attitude of the players would be very different. We'd have just beat the defending Super Bowl champions. We'd have stopped the non-winning streak we've been on. We would finally have a little momentum. Our defense played lights out. Our offense did enough to get us the win. And I think the whole attitude of the locker room and the team would just be 180 degrees of where it is now.
Greg, how do you feel about that? Tell us, I know you guys are riding high after that victory. That was probably what you guys have been expecting for weeks.
Yes. I mean, both.
How did it turn out, and how did it feel?
It felt great. I mean, we actually got to see the Saints offense that we were used to seeing and that we were accustomed to seeing, what we had kind of expected. I mean, they I felt like they used Cooks right. They did. I mean, Ingram was a beast. He was just an absolute animal in that game. And he definitely proved the point that he's a featured back, and that maybe splitting up the carries for him doesn't work as well as it does for the other backs. But I mean,
What?
if Carolina had won this game coming into this game, I think Carolina's a little more relaxed coming into this game because they know if they lose this one, they lose the lead. Number two, New Orleans got 3 home games coming up, so that kind of puts Carolina behind the 8 ball a little bit. If they're New Orleans, because New Orleans basically pretty much most people figure that New Orleans will win those home games.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So Carolina, if New Orleans comes out and beats Carolina, especially at this rate when you only a half game up, that's a whole different picture compared to if you at least had you would have had that 1.5 game lead, and if you beat Seattle and then you came in and you lost, it'll take a couple of weeks. You got a chance to recover maybe.
Is there any way that us losing that close one at home and a tough loss after a tough streak helps us a little bit going into Thursday night? And what I know it doesn't help us statistically, but one of the kind of arguments that has been floating around the NFC South the entire season is nobody wants to win. Nobody wants to win the division, and maybe I'm hoping what this does is this puts Carolina in a corner, like, you know, and they're back against the wall because I don't know another loss at home to a division rival, to a team that could be on the upswing potentially. We don't know yet. One win isn't enough, but I don't know if we can recover from that. I don't know if, like, in this clip right here, what Ron Rivera says, that
How would you describe
our
the
psyche.
here right now?
I think the psyche's good. I think there's a lot of disappointment right now.
I don't know if he can even say that if we lose this game.
Oh, no.
And
No.
maybe it has something to do with the way if we lost it, but I think this is a must-win for the Carolina Panthers. I think the division is too tight. I don't think we're a good enough team to squander something like this. It's going to be hard to go into New Orleans on the road and try to make up for it. So, Joe, what are the stakes in this game?
I think, for the past 3-4 weeks, we've said that it's been must-win games. But in all actuality, with the Saints losing games too, it's helped us to be able to say that this is a must-win.
Yeah.
This is a must-win. If we don't win this game, we put ourselves in a very difficult, extremely difficult position to have any chance at making the playoffs. Number one, because we're home. Okay, when we go to New Orleans, you remember what happened last year, and last year we had a way better team than we do this year.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have got to win this game. If we lose this game, there goes this season. I'm going to go ahead and say it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely puts pins you in a corner. I mean, New Orleans was running into the same thing last week because, I mean, they let that game slip away against Detroit.
Right.
Like I said, they lost that game more than Detroit won it, in all honesty. You know what I mean? I mean, they blew that. That was a 13-point lead. Last 4 minutes, they blew that game. And in that way, that game galvanized them a little bit. I really do think that loss was a help against Green Bay. Maybe if they won that game against Detroit, maybe they don't play as well against Green Bay. But they came out. I mean, Breeze didn't throw an interception the whole game. He played like, the dude I think he only had 5 incompletions in the whole game.
He wasn't really pressured, was he?
He got a little pressure here and there because he got a couple sacks. Because, I mean, he got sacked a couple times. Pepper sacked him once, and I think Clay Matthews got him once. And, for the most part, that was about it. I mean, but, he got a little pressure, but, I mean, for the most part, he got rid of the ball in pretty good fashion.
Right.
No mistakes. He didn't have to rush anything. And that's what I was saying like last week when you guys were asking me about the whole decline thing. Don't get me wrong, there's always an element of decline when you got a player in 35. But he ain't falling off the cliff. I mean, I didn't see it. I saw him trying to force the ball, and I saw him trying to do too much. In that game, he didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Ingram kind of took a big load off him, being able to run the ball, and then opened up the playbook too with the play action. So I mean, but that Detroit loss probably helped them more than it hurt them. It made everybody angry because the fans wanted to strangle them for losing that game. But they knew they couldn't go into Green Bay and lose that game, and they showed up. I mean, they did. They played New Orleans Saint football. What I was used to seeing.
Well,
Well,
do you think the injury to Aaron Rodgers affected that game in any way?
No, because you really think about it, you look at it like this. If everybody thought Green Bay was going to come in there and roll them, let's be honest. No, everybody come in there and they thought Green Bay was going to put their foot up their asses. Everybody, almost everybody, probably even some Saints fans thought that. I might have been the only one who even predicted that New Orleans would win that game. I'm not
that's
the
not
only
true.
one.
I picked them. I don't ever pick against New Orleans.
Yeah, well, I mean, there were a few people, but I mean, I heard some Saint fans thought for sure that they were going to be, that they were in trouble in that game, and somehow I thought they would win it because, like I said, they were at home. It was prime time,
Right.
and they almost never fail at that in that situation.
Right.
They show up and they play, and I didn't see any reason why they can't. Green Bay was not, Green Bay wasn't invincible. And the fact that they kept hanging with Green Bay, Green Bay will score, they'll score. They kept matching them. What I thought turned the game around was that first interception. The minute they did that and they negated that touchdown and scored on them and started getting down, they started getting ahead of them. I thought Green Bay was in trouble in that game. And I felt a lot more comfortable, especially when they got 14-point lead. I was fine.
Oh, at that point, yeah.
Once they got a touchdown lead, I knew that they were okay.
Yeah.
They were okay. At that point, they just and they had him under control. I don't think the hamstring had as much because he was running, he was moving around a little bit. I mean, it wasn't like he was.
It wasn't completely immobilized, no, but I think it did affect some of his mobility.
Yeah.
And now I'm not saying that was enough to make a difference because he doesn't play defense, and their defense was just getting worked. And I was surprised at how handily the Saints put it on the Packers. I was really surprised. Because they looked so good against us. They played so good against us, albeit we were at their place.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big difference.
It is a big thing. It is a big thing, yes.
It's such a big difference. I think we underestimate, too, people. I think everybody underestimated just how hard it is to go to New Orleans. It doesn't matter if you're Green Bay or not. And, yeah, to go in there and do that. Didn't Aaron Rodgers have a rushing touchdown, though?
He did, but that one nobody even was on him. He just kind of ran in, and that was after the hamstring injury too.
Okay.
Where he kind of like practically limped in. That was after the hamstring when he had that. That was the last score they had. Which was like third, fourth quarter. So.
But Joey, you were saying just how the Saints just worked a team, though. That even though you were alluding to this, is that I know that it was in Green Bay when we got demolished,
right.
But what we had here is that you have a very competitive game where the Saints seem to be in control, and then a game with us where there wasn't a shot. You want to finish that comment because I got a lot to say on that.
Well, no, I was just saying I was surprised at how easily the Saints had done it because they did work us. I mean, they really put it on us. And the Saints at home are very good. They rarely lose. But I didn't think they were going to beat them like that. If they would have won, I was expecting a few points. 6 points, maybe 10 points at most. Not a beat down like they took.
Well, I think we know this is that Green Bay has had a lot of trouble stopping the run, and the Saints were able to run the ball effectively in that game, and then that let Drew Brees do his thing, and then Drew Brees played amazing. I do think I think that sometimes teams are due for a loss, and Green Bay was playing much better than they really are as a team at that point, and maybe New Orleans was finally due for a win. But what I want to touch upon this is, you've also noted this, is that this is not going to be in the Superdome. This is going to be in Carolina, this game. The Saints seem to be a different team on the road where they have been over the last 2 years.
Yep.
And from what our boy T Money has pointed out on Twitter, is that we're through the tough end of our schedule. This is the pinnacle of the last game, right? Is that if we can make it through this game, we're facing, according to him, the record of our opponents remaining is 18-26, and so we're through our tough games, he said, and the Saints and the Falcons, where he calls them the Aints and the Falcons, messed up. They mess up in easy games. So if we can make it through this game, Joey, I think that is
Carolina hasn't all year.
Yeah.
Hey, the last time I checked, when the last time y'all even won a damn game?
It was like,
It's been a while.
Y'all okay? So y'all done messed up some easy games too. He can't tell him to lock it.
it was 6 games ago.
Well,
you got a
just
lot
remember, we are still in the division lead right now.
Yeah.
We've got more conference wins.
Still-
I guess
still Friday
we beat
morning.
Detroit. We beat Detroit. Y'all lost to Detroit. But what we can do is this: is y'all's team is not the same team on the road, and this is what
it hasn't been. It hasn't been. You're right. And this to me, as well as they played against Green Bay, to me this is the signature game right here, because if they can come out there and play as well as they played in the dome there on the road, now we're talking a whole different ball game. They pretty much. I think that if they do that, it's over. For a lot of teams, they're in a lot of trouble playing them. Whether they're at home or on the road, if they can bring that game, and they generally don't. But I think for some reason, I think that they will. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people and play very, very well again in Carolina Thursday night. I really do.
Well, I mean, if you look at straight up talent versus talent, it really should be a close game because New Orleans is extremely talented on offense, where we're lacking in some areas on defense. And then when we're on offense, the Saints' defense isn't what it was last year.
No.
Neither is our offense, though.
But they've played a heck of a lot better in the last 2 games. I mean, like I said, a lot of people didn't watch that Detroit game, but that New Orleans defense played a hell of a lot better in that Detroit game. And a lot less. They played a lot better against the run. It was bend but don't break against the pass. You got to think about even with Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers had some big plays in that game.
Okay.
And they had some plays where they even got close. They got in the red zone and and New Orleans stopped them and held them to a field goal.
That's the story of our lives. Story of the Panthers' lives. Getting to the red zone and settle for a field goal.
Right.
Do you know where the Saints are rated defensively this season?
I can take a quick look because I think they're still in the 20-something. I don't know. I don't think it went up much because they gave up quite a few yards against Green Bay.
Right.
But what they didn't,
because
like
I think the entire division was like 24 and below.
Was it 20-something? Yeah, I think New Orleans ranked the best of the whole division on defense. I think so. It was.
You're the best.
Offense. Here is what we got, and we got this going down on YouTube. Is the Cat Scratch Reader editor Nurse C? And I hope I'm pronouncing it. It just says Nurse C, so I don't know if I'm butchering it, and I apologize if I am. He agrees with Greg about Breeze, not on that he's still got a lot of gas in the tank, and he said that the Carolina Panthers safeties will have to play disciplined. This is a very difficult matchup.
Roman Harper's not going to play discipline.
Oh, no. Roman Harper is... Well, we activated Robert Lester. I think that Robert Lester I think we might be going away from Roman Harper. It might not be Roman Harper. We might have to stick with him, man. We might have to deal with him just because Deku's hamstring is hurt. We just got rid of Godfrey. And we should have moved Godfrey. Yeah, we should have moved him to safety. That's what we should have done. I don't think we have enough depth there to just cut the dude.
Roman Harper?
Godfrey.
No, Charles Godfrey.
Yeah.
Godfrey, I thought Godfrey was gone. He signed by Atlanta.
Yeah, he did. We were saying what he's saying is that we should have moved him from slot corner or nickel corner back to safety because
I got you. Okay, my bad.
He was a much better safety than he was a nickel corner, and we never gave him a shot. I think you play Roman Harper on first down, maybe second down, but then you bring Godfrey in on passing downs.
Yeah, because he like I said, don't get me wrong, Roman Harper against the run and as far as like rushing the passer, he's actually pretty good at those two things. He can do those pretty well. He's very much good. He's pretty much an in-the-box safety. That's about it.
Like
If you got him on passing downs, you got a lot of problems.
Right.
Huh?
Okay. Well, I want to. My question is.
Yeah, basically.
With the Saints coming into us,
okay.
You guys, your offense doing better. I want to know if we make you one-dimensional and we can stop the run, is that the best way to kind of throw the hiccup in y'all's giddy up? And I know that you're a passing team. I know that that's your bread and butter, but it seems to be that you haven't put it all together. The only time you put it all together is when the running game is clicking this year. Is that the key for the Carolina Panthers?
Well, now don't get me wrong. The Saints, a lot of teams have kind of shut down the run at one point or another here and there, and the Saints still able to pull out a win because they'll turn around and go short passes, screen passes. They'll find a way to get the ball to somebody. Even we still got even though we don't. Pierre Thomas is out. Travaris Cadet fill a lot of his roles in the passing game if they need to go short. So, I wouldn't say that's the only way. Now, that might slow them down a little, but I don't think that totally stops them. Now, like I said, now if they get that run game, if they run 100, 150 on you in this game, say goodbye because you're going to get dusted. I don't see
early in the year.
How you can mess with it. Huh?
You said early in the year that
they're going to run 150 on
yards in one game, and you said that if they did it, you would get a Panthers tattoo, and Tony said that if they didn't do it, he'd get a Saints tattoo.
I didn't say none of that. I won't ever say that.
No, I did predict that. I did predict that the Saints will run 150 on you. I did say that in the preseason. I still stick to that. Okay. I think they can get 150 on you.
All right, so if
you know what I got to say about that? This is what I got to say about y'all running 150 on us. This is what's going to go down. Check this out. Get ready for this. Booyah! Blown up. You ain't going to be running 150 yards on us. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that. That's just out of this world. We have not been good against the run this year, but we have improved. T-Money, quit it with the Roman Harper leads picks since. Sorry, that mess is just.
Yeah, he got 3 interceptions for y'all. Keep him out there, especially in the passing game.
You
don't pick on him.
And those are just Johnny on the spot interceptions. Those aren't like fantastic coverage.
Exactly. He get those interceptions because the ball pretty much fell in his hand.
Right, so it was deflected by somebody, and like I said, he's Johnny on the spot and got the ball.
Exactly. Right place at the right time. That's all that was.
If we hold you to under 100 yards rushing, you're going to buy us tickets to the Panthers-Saints game in New Orleans. You're going to fly us out there, get us to the game. Sound good?
No. You're not holding us. I don't think you hold us under 100. I don't think you hold us under 100. No, that's not going to happen. But, in all honesty, I think that, Ingram looked very good, but I think also Cadet as well. I think it's going to be a combination between the two. Because Travaris Cadet is a decent running back himself, so he can come in and spare Ingram for plays. And, they even got a kid on the practice squad who can run a little bit too, who came in. So, all
right, but you're discounting what we got, and this is that I know they have not played to the caliber that they did last year, but I think what we saw is a big movement forward last week against the team that wanted to run the ball against us with Marshawn Lynch, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it because 2 guys played really out of their minds. One particularly was Star Latule. He finally came back, and he played like he did last year in so many moments. He seemed to be comfortable there. So I don't know. I don't think that the run game is going to be the answer. What I think that the Carolina Panthers are going to have more difficulty matching up with is Jimmy Graham, and he had a good game, and this is You can't put Roman Harper on Jimmy Graham. That's for sure.
Oh no,
I
that's
know that
please
would
do
be his
that.
job.
By the way, please do that. I recommend that.
I bet. Speaking of Jimmy Graham,
if you want to get Roman Harper cut Monday morning or Friday morning, if you want to get Roman Harper cut Friday morning and you want him off that team, make him cover Jimmy Graham that night. Please do.
Well, we won't.
You can get rid of him.
Muhammad and T-Money said this, is that we run zone defenses. So what you're going to have to do is, you have to find the holes. Jimmy Graham has played well against the Saints against the Panthers in the past. So I don't know if it's just as simple as hoping that keep.
Okay, you're saying Jimmy Graham, but what about Kenny Stills has played very well the last 2 games. Brandon Cooks was playing out of his mind in that game, and you saw what he did. He took 2 Packer defenders and blew right past them and scored a touchdown. I don't think your secondary can handle those guys if Breeze want to go long on them.
I mean, that's going to be the toughest question, and I think that's why stopping the run game is going to be important to that, because we can't have anybody biting on the run and open those plays up deep. And what we need to do, and this is for what T-Money is saying on Twitter right now, for the zone defense to work, it requires us to stop the run and rush the passer. Those 2 things, we've got to get a natural pass rush without a blitz, maybe with some surprise blitzes every now or something like this. But what we got to do, and like Nursey said earlier, we got to play really disciplined defense, limit the big plays, keep you guys keep it underneath, keep everything to the small plays, to the flats, to underneath. But probably, I think what's going to have to do this is we're going to have to win this game with our offense. And I don't mean we got to outscore you guys, but what we need to do is replicate the game plan from the Seattle Seahawks, but this time score in the red zone.
Yes. I want to ask you about Jimmy Graham, Greg. I saw he played last night. He played fairly well, but to me, he still looked injured.
Oh, he is still injured. He absolutely is. But the thing about it, he was pretty much non-existent in that first half. He didn't. I don't think he threw to him in the first half. Second half, he caught like 5 passes, and then he caught a touchdown in that game, in that one. But he they brought him along slowly in that game. But he said that he would probably spend a lot of time rehabbing and trying to heal up, get ready for Thursday's game. So he probably if he practice anything, probably doing walkthroughs, but he's probably not even like in actual practices.
Right.
I mean, they need him in, but yeah, he's definitely still sore. He's still hurting. He's still gonna probably need a week or 2 before it's fully recovered. They use him. They don't, because Cooks I think is playing better, and Cooks is in there, and if they use Cooks anywhere close to stretching the field a little more, like they were doing on the jet sweeps, and they put him on slants and they used him all over the place. I don't think Breeze is gonna find those soft spots. He's gonna find those mismatches with Cooks and with Stills, and then just pepper Graham in a little bit here and there. I mean, even if you stop the run, I still don't think you'll stop the pass. I just don't think so. Because even if he just used short passes to slow down your rush. You know what I mean? He ain't got to go long. He just covers short passes, and even Colston comes in and he makes a play. It'll take it. The passing game can make up for the running game. I think.
I think 2 things that need to happen. I think we need to hit one real good time, Jimmy Graham, on that sore shoulder or forearm or whatever it is, and I think he might decide to take the rest of the game off. Tony, you remember when we said, what are we going to do against Brandon Cooks after he was drafted by the Saints?
Yes.
Well, we definitely need that to happen. We need him to come across the middle and let him match up with, after he catches the ball, let Thomas Davis get a shot in on him, get him concussed, and get him out of the game.
We said this, and you know what? We were very close to predicting this right, had we had just scored a damn touchdown last week against the Seattle Seahawks. And what I mean by that, Joe, is if you remember, we said, hey, the Carolina Panthers are going to have a tough, brutal schedule, which T Money has pointed out. It's going to be week 8. We're going to be coming, and we got Seattle and then the Saints back to back. This is going to be kind of the test moment. And I said that because I voted for Richard Sherman over and over and over in the Madden competition, I said Sherman is going to get the Madden hoax. He's going to get the Madden curse. Cam Newton is going to bust a read option run for like 40 yards, and he's going to mash Sherman in the process and hurt him and injure him. And then the next game, Brandon Cooks is going to get blown up by Roman Harper across the middle. Now, Jonathan Stewart.
Harper got to catch him first.
This is the thing: is Jonathan Stewart mashed
Richard Sherman.
And it was one of the better parts of the game to me. So that would have been, if we would have won that game and then had this happen, it could happen. Now, Roman Harper did try to blow this dude up at the end of the game, and it cost us a timeout. Not that it would have mattered, because our offensive line at that point it was just I felt like the wind had been sucked out of us by that moment. But Roman Harper, I don't know if you remember this, Greg, he tried to blow this dude up going into the end zone, and then Roman Harper almost died in the process. Like, he looked like his bones shattered. And then this week he said, "Oh, I wasn't hurt, and the refs thought I was hurt, and I was just laying there for a second."
Embarrassed?
Yes.
He took a bad angle. Did he take a bad angle?
No, he just tried to demolish this dude.
Tried to kill the guy? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he did. He did, but the problem is that he's like 40.
Yeah, I mean, we got used to him taking bad angles and missing altogether.
Well, he blew it up. He just didn't get it done. Greg, tell us this. What is, and outside the Lions game, because the Lions game, I felt like you guys had won that game all the way until the last second. You just blew it. Rob Ryan, I'm surprised he was there this week. But tell me, what has happened? What has gone wrong for the Saints that the Carolina Panthers can hopefully capitalize on the road? Say, for instance, the Cleveland Browns. You guys lost to them, right?
We did lose to Cleveland, and a lot of that was, I think...
You remember that Cleveland lost to Jacksonville, just to point that out to you.
Which means nothing. Week to week is different in the NFL. One team beat one team, and the other team beats the other. It happens all the time. So that's really, like some people sometimes you lost to Cleveland. Cleveland got talent. Cleveland's not necessarily one devoid of talent on that team. They just weren't.
Well, what did they do? What did they do? What went wrong for the Saints in that game that we can maybe replicate?
They did not rely on the run, because what it was, Cleveland was rushing them pretty well, was blitzing them pretty well, and was actually getting the breeze. But the run game was actually was working in that game, and Payton did not stick with it. He didn't notice it in time. I don't think he knew to start to switch it to it in time in that game. That was part of it. It could have been few different things. At that time, the defense definitely communication issues. They seem to be getting that down a little bit better. They definitely were against Green Bay, and they kind of simplified things. And you could tell, like I said, in Detroit and Green Bay, they'll bend, but they weren't breaking. You know what I mean? At that point in time. So the whole key there is that they're communicating. They're still going to stay simplified. They're totally different. They've definitely been different in the last couple games to me compared to what they were earlier, in the season. So, I wouldn't, and every season goes through ebbs and flows. That's why I would say if a team is 2-4 right now, they could easily turn around and be, 9-4 because they went 4 or 5 straight, get on a win streak. Green Bay proved that alone. They were 1-2. Rodgers says relax. They win 4 straight, and then they turn around and they go right back into hit rock bottom again. Not really rock bottom, but they suffer a little bit of a setback in the next game because every season is different and every part of the season is different. So I think what you guys saw earlier you won't see this time in New Orleans. I think only things I worry about is that your weak points were going to be our second cornerback. If how well Corey White is going to play. You know, he played pretty well against Green Bay. He was pretty decent. You know, he got beat a couple times, but for the most part, he made plays. He got an interception out of it. You know, if can Cam Newton or any on your team expose him a little bit? I don't know. I mean, other than Kelvin Benjamin, you guys really, I mean, your rest of receivers, are they even that good to you guys?
I think Kotri has been very consistent throughout this season. I wish I would have liked for us.
The most he's never going to be. He's never going to. You ain't gonna see. You ain't gonna see a. You know. You ain't gonna see player of the week game out of him. You know what I mean?
No, he's made some really good catches though.
Yeah, we don't need him to be that. I think Greg Olson. We're going to try to use Greg Olson a lot, and you know, that's an excellent question. Is that do we have a second guy that can take advantage of that on big plays? And T Money said on Twitter is that Corey White probably gives up big plays in the clutch on the road. And that may be true, but what we got to have is somebody that can get behind him. And I don't know if we got a guy that's fast enough to really take the top off.
He's fast now. That's the thing. He's fast. The only thing with Corey White, sometimes he plays off the receiver too much and sometimes too far off, and the receiver turns a little hook pattern. He gets wide open there, and
that'll help Patrick.
Or he's down the field and he's running with the guy. He has a problem locating the ball. So
okay.
If you got a receiver who can look him off long enough so that the kid can't locate the ball and then catch it, I mean he might have a field day with White. But then again, now I don't know. I mean, White might improve. He might play better. We don't. He's still thrown up. He's still up in the air with him right now.
I think that's that's going to be tough for us, and that's. You hate to say that it's not been our weakness to this point, our receiver core, like it should have been. But in games like this, that's where you might need a guy. You need it, and it kind of does get exposed. Joe, something I've been thinking about this week is what if, and I want to talk the last part about the show. I want to just talk a little bit about the coaches on each team and give you an opportunity to get back on that. And I want Greg to be thinking about Rob Ryan and how the defense is performed and what you guys think is going to be going forward with him. But I think, Joey, I'm starting to wonder if Dave Gettleman is a great deal the problem for the Carolina Panthers and the GM. And when I say the problem, what I mean is I think that maybe he's trying to throw this season. And I'm wondering about this. He fielded a team with an offensive line that has no guys other than the center that has been drafted. You put them in key spots. You then try to make a defensive team that's going to grind it out and pound it out with the team that's not going to be able to run the ball very well behind that offensive line. Then you get questionable receivers. You put all your faith in a rookie receiver who has played beyond expectations. Is Dave Gettleman throwing this season in order to move Rivera out of there, move these guys out, and get his own guys in there? Because the one thing that I'm thinking, Joe, what would our team be if we had Deshaun Jackson? This was a realistic opportunity for any team to go out there and get Deshaun Jackson. I know we want to stick it to his team, but the Redskins don't have a good offensive line. They simply do this. They just throw it as far as you can. And Deshaun Jackson is outrunning every pass. The only person he can't outrun in the NFL is maybe Cam Newton's arm. So if we had that type of weapon, this offense maybe could remedy some of those problems on the offensive line. Do you think Dave Gettleman has thrown the season, Joey?
I find it hard to believe that he would throw the season. I mean, this organization has never had back-to-back winning seasons. For us to come out of this season with a 9-7 record would be a first. And I think he would like to be able to say, I'm the first GM we've ever had that has put this team with back-to-back winning seasons. Now, I agree with a lot of what you said. We're in trouble in a lot of areas on this team. Gettleman, I think Gettleman, if the season continues as it has been the last few games, I think Ron Rivera goes. I think he's gone. And Greg knows I did not feel that way earlier in the year because the question was asked and I defended Ron Rivera. But my biggest problem with him has become why isn't he involved more in the offense? I know the head coach gets to hear the plays that are being called from the offensive coordinator to the quarterback. Yeah. And on that third down play, when Carolina was inside of they were inside, I think they were right at the 1 or 2 yard line, and he heard Shula call Jonathan Stewart right up the middle. He should have said, hey, wait a minute. Are you freaking kidding me? And he should have said, no, you need to run, a play action pass to Olsen, or you need to run a fade to Benjamin. But he didn't. He let him run that crappy play. So that makes me wonder, as a head coach, your involvement should be in all 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. No doubt, he's involved on the defensive side of the ball, clearly. But where is his involvement in the offense? He's the head coach. He has final say on everything. Yeah. And he should have stepped in somewhere and said, hold on, these play calls are terrible. We're not getting the results that we need. And that's my issue with Ron Rivera right now.
Greg, what is the temperature when it comes to Rob Ryan? I know you guys have performed better in the last 2 weeks, but it has been ugly. It has been ugly on that defense. Is this something? Can he survive this season if the?
I mean, for the most part, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people still kind of, we want to see the defense get back to where it was last year. It was a big improvement, but it was also he played it a lot simpler last year. And this year, I think he was trying to go his full defense early on, because he likes to do a lot of complicated stuff, and it just wasn't working at the time. And I think part of it is, we talked about it last week. I'm well aware that they don't quite have all the players they need to pull off his defense overall, the ideal players. I think even just the linebacking core itself, I'm willing to say that, like, Curtis Lofton is pretty solid, as a linebacker, definitely in the run game, and as a play caller and in the leading the defense and everything. But overall, we don't have 3-4 linebackers. We got guys who are, we don't. If we can get those natural actual 3-4 linebackers there, I think that's a big help. Number 2 is to kind of, like I said, fill that second cornerback spot with along with Keenan Lewis there, so they can go man to man, and then I think that makes a big difference instead of having to play zone all the time. Now, they're playing a lot more zone, especially against Green Bay. They did. Because, and it made sense to, because you don't want to be trying to go man to man on a lot of those guys, not in Green Bay.
Right.
So, with Carolina, I don't know if they're going to play zone as much. They may play more man to man.
I think we're going to play a lot of zone just because that's the way our defense is built.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to play man to man, and maybe at times we might play man on one half of the field.
Right.
And be a zone in the other half. We may mix it up like that.
Because we got Keenan Lewis who can play man to man, and he's pretty strong at it. The other guys are not as strong at man to man. The tools are there. They just don't play it as well as you think they should. Because I really do think that Corey White, and I do think that Patrick Robinson. If you looked at them like from head to toe, they got the talent and it's all there. It's just they're just not. It's just not there. They're not getting it to play. They should be able to lock people down, and they can't. So
what about Junior Gillette? Isn't that his name?
Now, the truth is, Gillette, they list him as a linebacker. He's probably better with his hand in the dirt, more like a defensive end to a point, even though he's a little like there. He's a tweener. He definitely is a tweener.
He was a Pro Bowler last year, wasn't he?
He was a Pro Bowler, yeah. 12 sacks, and that's what he is. He's basically a pass rusher.
Where is he at this year?
Well, basically, right now for sacks, I think it's like two or three sacks so far this year.
He's not had the same type of impact as
no, because those first two games, and part of it is, you think about it, you're a Pro Bowler, people pay attention to you. Okay. So he's probably gonna, he's a small guy, so they may not have to double team him as much, but they definitely gonna pay a lot more attention. They may chip him a little bit coming out of the back, You know,
Right.
the same thing with Cam Jordan. You got to think about it. Cam Jordan also had 12.5 sacks himself last year.
But he's
And,
more of a true defensive end, right?
yeah, he's a true defensive end.
Yeah, he's bigger.
Yeah, he's bigger. He's definitely bigger. So, I mean, like I said, I mean, if we could get what I would love to see them do is to get two good, at least good outside linebackers. I like Paris Harrison, but Harrison is not. I mean, Harrison is solid. You know, like I said, I can say to the linebackers they're fairly solid. They're not terrible, but they're kind of just guys. You know what I mean? Especially in this like if you want to play 2, 3, 4 players, really play his defense, he still gets some pieces. And that's part of it. So he does have to adjust, and he can't. And these guys, don't know the defense as well, or don't. They have to be simplified. And then so we'll see. I mean, overall, so I don't blame Ryan nearly as much. Maybe I may blame him for trying to turn it up. You know, maybe he misjudged what they could do, or misjudged how much of his defense he really needed to put in, instead of slow feeding them with.
Right. Over the course of the season, instead of putting too much on them.
Exactly, right.
Away.
Exactly, and I think that's where it was. And like I said, a lot of, and even, I mean, Jonathan Vilma said it in another interview he did on ESPN. He would have an inside view of that. Somebody would tell him it's all communication, and that's kind of what I thought it was. Too. So communication and that adds with chemistry. So guys are not communicating as well, but you can tell they're communicating better now. It is a little simpler. They kind of have, and it's scaled down, and they're playing a lot better. So I mean, the way I look at it is that I don't think Ryan is in trouble at this point in time. I think if he can play well, if he can keep them playing well against you guys Thursday, and if they play pretty solid Thursday, I think they beat you. I mean, I really do. I think Saints beat you. I mean, even if you do stop the run game, I think Saints still can outscore you enough.
Right. Okay, well, I guess that brings us to a good point. We can talk about who we're picking and what we think the score will be.
Okay.
What do you think, Tony?
I am going to go with the Carolina Panthers back against the wall, squeaking it out in a close one. I'm going to say something like maybe 17-15.
All right.
And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this because I caused a huge stir on Twitter by talking about Gettleman and Ron Rivera, and I would like to point out this though, just to close that conversation, is that I think that one thing is that when everybody was calling for Ron Rivera's head last season in week 3, I was the one person that said there's no sense in firing this guy in the bye week. Is that we got to just stick with him and see what happens and let the formula just kind of work out. And it worked well last year. The thing is though, is that Dave Gettleman and Ron Rivera is not Dave Gettleman's guy, and I don't care if you gave him an extension or not. Is that
they gave him 1 year, didn't he? Didn't he give him like another year or something, so he wouldn't go lame duck?
I think it was not. I think it was like a 2-year or something like that, like prove it to us or something more. But it was not the long-term, you're the answer for us forever type deal. It was a raise that said, good job for going 12-4. On top of that, we haven't seen Ron Rivera just get the job done at this point. So this is where I'm saying is I don't know if that's necessarily the solution. I don't know if changing the coaching staff again is the solution. Obviously, this offensive coordinator is not the solution. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I'm not ready to fire mid-season, but it looks like if we don't turn things around in a hurry, that he will not be on this staff next year. But my point about the Ron Rivera conversation is simply this. If somebody, and you know who said this? Roman Harper said this week when they cut Charles Godfrey, is they're going to fire you before they get fired.
Yes.
Right.
And that was what the Charles Godfrey cut was a signal of. Is y'all better get your asses doing your job better, or else you ain't going to be on this team. That applies to Ron Rivera as well.
It does.
I agree.
But you also got to look at it like this: if Ron Rivera goes, everybody on that team is on the hot seat to go too, because a new coach will come in and he might want to, because Cam Newton is kind of a unique player in a sense. You know what I mean? The fact that he got the arm, he can do read option, he can run the ball. But you got a lot of coaches would not know what the hell to do with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you might bring in a guy.
Mike Shula.
Well, Mike Shula, yeah, I don't understand how y'all hired him anyway. That dude is a terrible coach.
It was a mistake. I can honestly say it was a mistake.
In a way, I was kind of glad y'all did hire him because I knew what y'all was getting with him. I was like, that dude, I have not seen anything. I mean, he was at Alabama. How the hell you at Alabama and you screw up?
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alabama and the kid assigned.
Right.
And he couldn't do it.
Right.
And what was it with what was it with the
Bucks.
Bengals? Yeah, he was with the Bengals at one time. I mean, I think it was with Miami. Not Miami. He was with Bengals. I know he was with the Bengals. I think he was like head coach there or something like that.
He was with the Buccaneers at one time as offensive coordinator.
Yeah. When the last time the Bucks had a explosive offense, especially under Shula?
Right.
So,
They didn't. The highest they ever got was 19th.
So I don't know if Rivera hired him or was that Gettleman shoving it down Rivera's throat.
This was an internal hire. We promoted him when Rob Chudzinski took the job with the head coaching position with the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
We promoted him from quarterbacks coach. Your boy, Joey, the Tampa Bay guy, J.C. Dele Torre, when we were in that Twitter war with him, he said that Mike Shula, you could write his playbook on a napkin.
That's pretty much. It's the truth. I mean, if his name wasn't Shula, he would never get a job.
I agree.
I don't know if a change in coaches is the answer. I don't think so. I really don't think it is. But at some point, we have to realize that if Gettleman, if he's going to implement the 3-year plan, and if things aren't turned around next year, when he can't really say next year, you can't say we're still getting out of cap hell, we're still doing this, we're still doing that. You're going to have to see some returns. So next year, we're going to see if Rivera can hold on to the spot. I think he gets one more year.
If you don't make the playoffs, Rivera would not be here at the end of the season.
I tend to agree with that.
I think I said this earlier. If you do not make the playoffs, Ron Rivera would not be Carolina's head coach because that gives Gettleman every freaking reason to fire him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That gives him every reason. You know what I mean? Because they'll pay him to sit to sit at home if he got another year left on his contract. And I mean, them not really giving him an extension. I think it was like a 1-year extension or something. That told you everything right there. All they basically was saying was that you got lucky on this one. This year.
Prove it.
See what you do this year.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even though he really didn't give him like the tools that he had last year. Because your team, your team is not as effective or strong man for man as it was last year. You lost a lot of chemistry in your receiving core. Because you can't tell me that,
I don't buy that. Is that really what we lost is Greg Hardy. We lost Greg Hardy, and we lost, who we lost that really is proven.
And that's true. That's true. That's what, because how many sacks did he have last year? Like 20 almost? 15 sacks?
15
that's huge. Yeah, that's huge. That is huge.
And missing Ted Ginn Jr. is not, we haven't missed him as a receiver, but we certainly have missed him in the return game.
Yes.
And it's not that he was just running kicks back. It's just he was consistent back there. He can't catch a pass, but he can catch a punt like it's.
Oh yeah, without doubt. I wouldn't put him out in the pass pattern, but yeah, as far as returning kicks or punts, yeah, because he makes them aware. He scares them because he's the X factor.
Yeah.
You flip up and you let him get away from you, it's over.
Yeah.
And that's very a special teams touchdown. It's powerful. That's a game changer almost every time. If you can get one of those a game, that's a difference. That's almost a win. That's a win.
Funny. Yeah.
That seals it. That almost seals your game if you play it right.
Absolutely.
So that's a big difference. You don't need a powerful offense.
Let's jump back to the picks. I'm going to change my pick, and I'm not changing the pick. I'm going to stick with the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to change the score. 2017 Carolina Panthers. That's my score.
Okay.
Let's move to Greg because we know he's going to pick the Saints.
Of course.
Absolutely. I'm going to go Saints. It's just down the road. I'm going to go 27. I'm going to go Carolina 17.
Well, I thought he was going to say 13.
I thought he was going to say 10.
I'm going to go 17. I'm going to go 17.
Okay.
I'm being nice to you.
All right.
You know what? Is we're not going to be nice to you. We're going to just do this right here to you. Right here. This guy.
I didn't see.
This guy is
But that's Robert. But that's Robert Turbin. You didn't do that to Marshawn Lynch, did you?
You know, Marshawn Lynch didn't have a very good game. He was sulking on the sidelines a lot.
But you know, I mean, let's be honest. I think Lynch might be hitting that cliff a little bit, just a little bit.
Everybody's been saying that for forever, and then he goes.
Well, they weren't gonna let him go this year because that was a Super Bowl. I mean, he just came off Super Bowl team and everything, so they weren't gonna let him go this year. That would have freaked everybody out.
Right, he's taken a pounding. He has taken a pounding over like the last 3 years. He's rushed the ball like over 1,000 times over the last 3 years or something.
Right. But they're already saying he's not going to be back next year. So I mean, he knows it. They know it. At this point in time. So it's like that tells you everything right there. The fact that they made the decision 8 games into the season or sooner that this is his final year, and then the likelihood they're moving on. Just to even hear that tells you this early in the season. Tells you they already think that he's pretty much on the downhill slide, and they got to get him out of there. They feel like they need to get him out of there.
Well, yeah, I'd be interested to see how that goes down next year. They already got rid of Harvin, who was, I guess, Beast Mode's best buddy.
Yeah.
And so maybe he'll want to leave after that. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, as far as my pick goes, of course, I'm picking the Panthers. But I'm picking this, and I think this is going to be – it's not going to be a high-scoring game, I don't think. I think the defenses for both teams are going to step up and play really tough. I'm thinking the Panthers will win this one somewhere along the lines of 17-13. I really think that. Because, we're not in the dome, so it's not really a racetrack. We're playing on natural grass. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle.
Possibly.
We got to limit the big plays. Well,
like I said, if Ingram can get rolling on that, what do you think your chances are if Ingram gets rolling? If he really gets running the ball?
If he gets to running the ball effectively, we're in deep trouble because then you can play action pass, and that's where we'll get killed.
Yeah, seeing Roman Harper bite on a play action pass will be just interesting.
Yeah.
But please put him on Jimmy Graham. I want to see that one.
All right. Well, that I think has got to conclude it for tonight. We've gone for a half hour. Well, we never go just exactly 1 hour, but
we've gone into overtime, double overtime.
Did you guys see Greg? Did you watch the game last night?
A little bit, yeah. The Dallas game, yes. I watched some of it.
Yeah.
I did watch the end of it.
Gary Jones, first he had the headset on. He was doing an interview, but I thought that what he was, it looked like that's usually what he really wants to be like right there. But that man, I think there's 2 of him. He teleported from the up to the down, and then he was back up in the booth afterward. I mean, it was crazy.
Yes.
Well,
it was insane.
He's probably got an owner's elevator. You know what I mean? In the state.
Yeah.
Right.
He got a little private. He got a little private entrance in and out, like a little bat entrance.
Right.
He probably pop up right up under the field. You know what I mean? Where you elevate, go under, and then pop up right on the sideline next to Jason Garrett.
I totally believe it. Probably he
scared the hell out of somebody.
100% believe it.
He's got the money
this is what we got going on. We've got Southbound and Down podcast tomorrow night. We've got some fun stuff to talk about. So we will be revisiting a lot of these things
Yes.
for each team. So let's go ahead and get our plugs and jump on out of here, fellas. Joe, you go first. We're going to sandwich the Saint.
That's right. I'm Joe Riolano, a.k.a. the Freaking Puerto Rican. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Riolano. I also have started a Carolina Panthers fan club of Charleston. We are the official C3 fan club for the Panthers. And we meet every Sunday, or in this case Thursday, at Southside 17 at the Tanger Outlets. Great bar. They've got awesome drink specials, fantastic food, way better than just bar food, and TVs all over the place. So it's a really cool place to check out, and we're starting to really get a crowd there. 10 to 12 fans the last 2 weeks, and it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun, even though we've lost. It's still been fun. Greg, I guess you're up next.
Well, yeah, this is Greg Barber here, catching passes in double coverage against the Panthers.
Nice.
Basically, you can catch me at IntenseGB on Twitter. Feel free to hit me up anytime. I'm sure, what is the name, T-Dog? You're probably sitting there telling me how bad the Saints are and how much y'all going to be kicking our asses. Much like Carolina Abby. Is it Abby?
Yeah,
she's
our one of our favorites.
Yeah, I mean, no, she cool. You know, I told her we'll be talking Thursday night after the game.
Yeah, we're all we get a live Twitter conversation going on. So
yeah,
somebody will start. We'll be talking after the game, but only one group of people will be happy.
Yep.
Either way, I'm a little worried about prime time. We come out flat in some primetime games, so we're going to have to own this one. Panther Nation, this is the Professor, and the lesson for tonight is this primetime game is the game. If we win this game, the season is not only salvageable, but the playoffs are potentially we can see them. But we lose this game at home after this run, I think that psyche is going to be very difficult mentally for not only the fan base but for the team itself to recover from. So, guys, just go ahead and channel that Thomas Davis and go eat on Thursday night. You can check us out at CarolinaCatChronicles.com, and every Tuesday night, C3 podcast, 10 o'clock. Wednesday nights, Southbound and Down, the premier NFC South podcast. And we're just going to go ahead and jump out of here, fellas.
Have a good night.